Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. The title says, Disciples and the World. Just verse 13 begins to say, You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its taste, its purpose, how can it be made salty? It is no longer good for anything, but to be thrown out and walked on by people. You are the salt of the earth. But what happens when you lose your saltiness? What happens when you lose your saltiness? Now notice something. Salt has a purpose, and the purpose is to actually impact. Right? Now watch something here. When Jesus was breaking this down, he begins to give us a view that we are the salt of the earth. But what happens if this salt loses its saltiness, loses its purpose? Now watch something. There are two categories here. You can be the salt okay, let me put it like this. You can be the salt that remains with its saltiness, or you can be the salt that loses its saltiness. But the very interesting thing here is that these two categories, they still have one thing in common, which is they are both regarded as salt. So the title is there, but the purpose is lost. This is how many of us are. We are bearing the title of being of God. We are bearing the title of being Christians. But the very same thing that should be making us salty is not there. We are not impacting a generation. We are not becoming the light. We have lost our saltiness. But the problem is, we are still considered salt because the title is still there, but the saltiness has left. May I submit to you, don't strive to fit into the world that you end up losing your saltiness. Because in this kingdom, the way we become the light is by being different, not by trying to fit in. We are the salt of the earth. But what happens when we lose our saltiness? The Bible begins to say we are thrown away. The salt is thrown away and is walked on by people. Don't allow your destiny to be crippled because you wanted to fit in. This is how many destinies were crippled. This is how many people lost their way with God because they wanted to fit into the world. If you read the whole chapter, starting from verse 13, the title begins to say the disciples and the world. It shows you the difference here, that as a disciple of Christ, you need to be different from the world because you are the salt that has its saltiness, that has its purpose to affect the generation that is lost. But if we do, how do you actually affect this generation? By living the way Christ has taught you. But if we now bear the title of saying we are of God, but we are still engaging in the world, then our saltiness will be lost. Our purpose will be lost, because we will now be fulfilling the purpose of the world instead of fulfilling the purpose of the Creator. One of the things the Bible begins to say in 1 John chapter 2 verse 15, the Bible begins to say, do not love the world, for he that loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For everything in this world will pass away. It will pass away. It will pass away. Don't make the mistake of trying to please the world. We don't want to please the world, we want to save the world. There's a difference. Now when you save a world, that Paul begins to say we are living in a perverse and a crude generation. So how do you actually save a generation like that? By being different. Because a generation has been lost, a generation has been deceived, and we know the truth, but we do not want to fulfill our purpose. The end point is that you will lose the very same thing that makes you salty. We have lost it. Don't make the mistake. At the end of this life, what will you be remembered of? Because we are not talking about money here. We're not talking about big houses here. We're not talking about big cars here. We're not talking about having nice sofas. We're not talking about having nice big flat screens and everything. But at the end of this life, what will you be remembered of? What impact would you have made onto this perverse and a crude generation? Because time is running out. Time is running out. One thing you could do is to remain in a state of perpetually increasing your relationship with God. Because if you lose that, let me submit to you, you have lost true life. Life begins when you start to walk in the ways of the Lord. That is true living. It may not be as fun as the world. It may not look as of the world. It may not be enjoyable as the world. But in this kingdom, we are different. We are different. It starts off hard, but it will be enjoyable. As time goes on, you'll begin to enjoy it. As you start, you will fight, because you are still waging against your flesh. But if you press and break through that, you'll begin to see that you have entered a new realm, which is called life. Oh, this is why men will begin to tell you that we are different. We are different. I believe it's Philippians chapter 2. We are different. We are different. For we are the citizens of heaven. We are living under a different law. We're not living under the law of South Africa here. No. We're living in a different law. We're living under a different law, which is the law of the Spirit. The that we begin to walk, and when we walk, it is no longer us that walk, but it is Christ who lives in us. It is no longer I that speak, but it is Christ who speaks. This is why we are able to impact a generation just by mere speaking. This is why we are able to impact Australia, all the way from Africa, all the way from South Africa, all the way from Limpopo. You can impact a generation in America. But the problem is we are still fixed onto this world. We still enjoy worldly things. We are losing our purpose because we want to fit into the world. We don't want to be different. We don't want to be distinct. Let me submit to you, and at the end of this life, what will you be remembered of? When we start to read your life, you want us just to read that you had a big house, you had a nice car, you had a nice degree. All of those things are not bad. But what did you truly do that affected a generation, that brought a generation to the consciousness of life? What did you do? In this kingdom, there is a title that you bear, but you do not just bear it, you live. Oh, you live. You live it. You see, hola.